I've been a DoorDash driver for a while now, and I've also added in Uber Eats and Grubhub to the mix over the past year. I've delivered food from many restaurants, and I've had great, average, and terrible pickups. Here are 5 restaurants that I've consistently had awful experiences with, so you can avoid them in your market. Number 5 is Five Guys. Now, I actually enjoy eating at their restaurant if I can actually afford it. I mean, their prices are a little ridiculous, but that's beside the point. As a delivery driver, when you accept an order for them, they have not started to make the food, at least not all of the food. They may start making the burgers, but they will not start making the fries until you actually arrive, walk into the store, and tell them you have a pickup for that customer's name. Well, as you can probably tell, that is going to lead to longer wait times in the restaurant, and then you'll be off to the customer after having waited that long, and then you will not be able to complete as many deliveries in your shift as you would like if you're having to sit in long wait times at any restaurant. And Five Guys, this has been the case every single time that I've gone in there. The burgers, they may be ready, like I said. They may be sitting there on the counter, just getting nice and soggy and cold, but at least they don't make the fries until you arrive. And like, I understand this strategy because the restaurant doesn't want the customer to have cold fries, but it is such a huge inconvenience as a driver because, I mean, just in my most recent experience with them, I accepted a good order and I was expecting to, I think it was something like $14 for like 6 miles. So this was great, but I ended up spending over half an hour on this order just because like I had to wait 15 minutes in the store. Most other restaurants in my area, like there isn't really a wait time. Maybe I'll have to wait like 2 or 3 minutes, but that's so much better than the 15-minute wait time that I usually have at Five Guys. Number 4 is another burger place. It's called Habit Burger. You may not have this in your market, but I promise the other 3 on this list, they will be in your market, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned for that. So Habit Burger, I've had experiences with them. Most of the time, I show up to the store and the order isn't even in their system yet. I don't know how that even makes sense because practically any restaurant that I've ever been to, the order is either ready when I show up or at least it's in their system and they are working on the order. But for Habit Burger, somehow I always show up and they're like, oh, we don't have that in our system yet. So we're gonna have to wait about 5 minutes to see if it shows up. And I'm like, wait, I have the order on my phone. Maybe you can just like start working on that right now. And they're like, no, we'll just wait until it shows up in our system. Just sitting there, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a long wait time. So sometimes I have unassigned these, sometimes I have just waited it out, and it really has been at least like a 10 or 15 minute wait. It's just so shocking to me that every other restaurant will have the order, but Habit Burger just doesn't. And for that reason, like I don't have bad experiences with their employees at all, but for that reason alone, just waiting in the store, I have to put it at number 4 on this list because I just don't think I can accept orders from this place ever again, really, unless it's a huge payout for short mileage. Number 3, Taco Bell. I'm actually surprised that it's number 3. I thought when I was writing out this list, it was going to be number 1 or 2 for sure, but the other 2 really are that bad that they need to be considered worse than Taco Bell. It seems that the time of day just doesn't really matter. It is just packed. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the times between that. Whenever I show up at Taco Bell, there's always just so many people, unless like you happen to be in an area where it's just like not busy at all. There's this one Taco Bell in my area that's actually pretty decent just because there's never any customers there, but all the other Taco Bells in my area, man, it's just awful. Like, and the most important part of this, why it's ranked so low, is that their lobbies are always closed. There's been this Taco Bell right by me, it's been closed for the past 2+ years, and they just don't want to open. And I understand that if they're having a staffing shortage, that they don't want to open up the dining room because then you gotta have your employees clean that. But it's been so long now that the lobby's closed, and like that just means that the drive-through line is just filled up with cars. Like usually, I have actually accepted a few Taco Bell orders recently, but I haven't completed all of them because sometimes when I show up, the drive-through line is just wrapped around the building. I'm like, there's just no possible way that I am going to be able to actually complete this order in like less than half an hour. Not to mention that these orders are extremely low paying because the menu items are just so cheap there that customers just feel like they don't really need to tip that much because they usually tip on a percentage of the order. So that's what they go for, maybe tipping like $1 or $2. And that's just not worth it to me as a delivery driver. And so I'm just not going to accept those orders. Number 2 is another fast food restaurant, Wendy's. Much like Taco Bell, the Wendy's lobbies are going to be closed pretty frequently, which means that there is a huge buildup of cars in the drive-thru. I have experienced this especially during lunch. For whatever reason, the one Wendy's that is close to my hotspot just like constantly has at least 10 cars in the drive-thru, and it's spilling out into the next street, causes a huge traffic jam. So even though I know that I'm probably not going to be accepting any Wendy's orders, I have to take a completely different route just to avoid the street that the Wendy's is on so that I don't get just piled up in that huge traffic jam. Wendy's is also pretty low paying in terms of the amount of tips that you can get from these orders. And so like most of the offers just aren't even good enough to accept to begin with. But the reason why that Wendy's is actually worse than Taco Bell is that they take forever to prepare the food as soon as you get there. You know, usually they won't start the order until you actually get there. So whether you're going through the drive-through or you go into the lobby, like you're still gonna have to have a long wait time there. One time I was the only car in the Wendy's drive-thru and I still had to wait almost 10 minutes for them to prepare just a small meal for my customer. Number 1, the worst restaurant that you do not want to go to is Dunkin'. Dunkin', I don't know what it is. Why are they so bad? Like they are different than other coffee places. Like let's say Starbucks. Starbucks has an exclusive partnership with Uber Eats, and Starbucks orders are almost always ready when I get to the store. These offers are usually pretty high paying and the customers are willing to tip well for these Starbucks orders, but at Dunkin', they're just not as high paying of offers, and the orders are never ready. There's a warning message on the Uber Eats app when you accept a Dunkin' order that says something like, if it's been less than 8 minutes after you accepted this order for Dunkin', you're probably going to have to wait. 8 minutes is a long time. Usually when you accept an order from a restaurant, whether it's on DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub, you're probably relatively close to the store, and so it might only take you like 3 minutes or less to actually get to the store. And so if the order's not getting ready for at least 8 minutes after you accepted it, you're going to be waiting a long time. The first time I had a Dunkin' order, I accepted it on Grubhub, and Grubhub is just notoriously known for being very slow when drivers get to the restaurant. There's a long gap between when you get to the store and when the restaurant is actually supposed to have the order ready. So I thought this was just a Grubhub problem, but with Dunkin', no, it's with every app. Like they're just so slow with making the orders. Maybe they're just short-staffed. Maybe they just have too many orders because usually a lot of them come through during breakfast when the drive-through line is filling up. I don't know what it is. I've been to multiple locations and they've all just not been good at all. Hopefully this list inspired you to do a little bit more market research in your area to determine what are some bad restaurants and what are some good restaurants that I actually do want to accept orders from. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.